Behind many of the world's strangest laws is a forgotten tragedy. A single disastrous event can inspire a rule that lasts for centuries. Today, we're uncovering the fascinating stories behind 50 of them. These aren't just random regulations, they are permanent solutions to very specific, and sometimes bizarre, problems that went spectacularly wrong. 1. That simple painted line down the middle of a road is one of the most effective safety laws ever created. Before it became standard, driving on a two-lane road, especially at night or in fog, was a constant game of guesswork. The ongoing risk of head-on collisions from drivers drifting across the unmarked center was a serious public hazard. The brilliantly simple idea of painting a center line proved so effective at keeping cars in their lanes that it went from a local experiment to a mandatory universal feature of road design. 2. Every plane crash used to be a tragic mystery. To prevent future disasters, investigators needed to know what went wrong in the final moments. The solution was the black box, which is actually bright orange for visibility. After a series of unexplained accidents in the 1950s, aviation authorities made flight data and cockpit voice recorders mandatory. These indestructible units are the final witnesses, providing the crucial data that leads directly to safety improvements for all of us. 3. That specific, impossible-to-ignore shade of yellow on school buses is a meticulously chosen safety feature. In the 1930s, school bus incidents were a common concern, partly because the vehicles just blended into traffic. A 1939 national conference standardized the color, officially naming it National School Bus Glossy Yellow. It was chosen because its black lettering is most legible in the dim light of dawn and dusk. That loud color isn't meant to be stylish. It's a giant, rolling "Be Careful" sign designed to protect kids. 4. Ever wonder why exit doors always swing outwards? It's a law written in blood, from the 1911 Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. When the fire broke out, panicked workers couldn't open the inward-swinging doors as the crowd pressed against them. Other exits were locked entirely. The horrifying disaster forced sweeping new fire codes, making outward-swinging, unlocked exits mandatory. A simple design feature we take for granted, born from an entirely preventable horror. 5. The infamous tragedy of the Titanic revealed a fatal flaw in maritime law that seems absurd today. The number of lifeboats required wasn't based on the number of passengers. It was based on the ship's weight. The Titanic actually carried more lifeboats than the outdated law required, but still not enough for everyone. The disaster forced a complete global rewrite of maritime safety regulations, mandating the simple, common-sense rule that there must be enough lifeboats for every single person on board. 6. Modern life jacket laws are a direct result of the 1904 General Slocum steamship fire in New York. The disaster killed over 1,000 people, partly because the life preservers were a deadly scam. Filled with rotten cork dust and secretly weighted with iron bars to pass corrupt inspections, they dragged victims underwater. The national outrage forced a complete federal overhaul of maritime safety, mandating that life-saving equipment must actually be capable of saving a life. 7. In many states, it's illegal to dye baby chicks or ducklings and sell them around Easter. This law exists because of the annual tragedy of good intentions. People would buy these colorful little birds as novelty pets for their kids, who would quickly lose interest. The chicks, often handled poorly and suffering from the toxic dye, would die within days. So, to prevent this yearly massacre of festive-looking poultry, legislators had to step in and officially make it illegal to create punk rock farm animals. 8. New York City has at various times cracked down hard on street jugglers in crowded areas like Times Square. This isn't because of an anti-circus bias at City Hall. These rules are almost always the direct result of a personal tragedy. A single tourist getting bonked on the head by a dropped bowling pin. One complaint, one threat of a lawsuit, and suddenly a centuries-old art form is treated like a public menace. At what point does regulating public safety just become enforcing public boredom? 9. In the early 1900s, fashion was a public menace. The hatpin panic swept cities after numerous men were stabbed by the enormous sharp pins women wore on crowded streetcars. The accidental stabbings and public fear were treated as a genuine crisis. In response, cities like Chicago enacted ordinances limiting hatpin length to under 9 inches. It was a literal attempt by lawmakers to disarm women of their most lethal fashion accessories. 10. Boston has some of the most stringent regulations in the world for the construction of large storage tanks. That's because in 1919, the city suffered one of the weirdest disasters in history, the Great Molasses Flood. A massive tank holding over 2 million gallons of molasses ruptured, sending a 25-foot-high wave of syrup, moving at 35 miles per hour, crashing through the north end. The sticky tsunami killed 21 people and injured 150. In the aftermath, the tragedy led to the first class action lawsuits in the state and a complete overhaul of engineering and construction standards for any project of that scale. 11. That ominous, "do not remove under penalty of law" tag on your mattress isn't a threat to you personally. It's the ghost of a truly disgusting tragedy. In the early 20th century, some unscrupulous manufacturers stuffed mattresses with recycled, unsanitized materials like horsehair from diseased animals or rags from hospital wards, spreading illnesses like smallpox. The tags were created to assure consumers the filling was new and sanitary. The penalty only applies to sellers, so your act of rebellion is safe. 12. The modern electric traffic light was born from the daily, chaotic tragedy of early city streets. Before automated signals, intersections were a deadly free-for-all of cars, horses, and pedestrians, often managed by a single, overwhelmed police officer. After witnessing a particularly horrific carriage and car collision, inventor Garrett Morgan created a signal to stop the madness. It was a simple, brilliant invention designed to prevent the constant, low-grade carnage that came with the dawn of the automobile. 13. The revolving door was once a celebrated modern convenience, until a major fire at a crowded nightclub revealed its critical design flaw. During an emergency, the mechanism could become blocked by a panicked crowd, effectively sealing a primary escape route. The incident was a harsh lesson that a design perfect for orderly traffic is a disaster in a crisis. This led directly to safety codes requiring all revolving doors to be installed alongside conventional, outward swinging doors for safe and rapid evacuation. 14. Ever wondered why manhole covers are round? It's a brilliantly simple solution to prevent the embarrassing and potentially lethal tragedy of a worker falling into their own hole. A square or rectangular cover can be turned diagonally and dropped right through its own opening. A round cover, however, is physically incapable of falling into its hole no matter how you orient it. It's a small piece of genius engineering designed to prevent a very specific and very stupid workplace accident. 15. The 911 emergency system, a number now known instinctively by almost everyone, was created in response to a tragic flaw in communication. Before its implementation, a person in crisis had to know the specific, local 7-digit number for their police or fire department, a number they often didn't know or couldn't find in a panic. After a series of high-profile incidents where help couldn't be summoned in time, the simple universal 3-digit number was established nationwide, creating a lifeline that has saved countless lives since. 16. The FDA's power to test new drugs for safety was born from a tragic medical blunder. In 1937, a company created a new liquid medicine using a sweet-tasting but highly toxic industrial solvent as its base, without conducting any safety tests. The product caused a national health crisis. The public outrage over this preventable tragedy directly led to the 1938 Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act, which for the first time required companies to prove their products were safe for human consumption before they could be sold. 17. Early American railroads often operated in a state of organized chaos. On single-track lines, the risk of head-on collisions was a constant and accepted danger, often with disastrous results. One particularly severe collision in 1856, caused by a simple scheduling error, served as a major wake-up call for the entire industry. The incident exposed the fatal flaws in the system and forced the widespread adoption of standardized timetables and telegraph-based signaling, finally bringing much-needed order and safety to the rails. 18. Why can't a river catch fire anymore? Because it used to. The Clean Water Act, one of America's most powerful environmental laws, was a direct response to a bizarre and embarrassing national tragedy. For decades, rivers like Ohio's Cuyahoga were so choked with industrial pollution and oil slicks that they literally burst into flames on multiple occasions. These fiery spectacles, along with major oil spills, became a symbol of a nation treating its waterways like a garbage dump. The public outrage finally forced the creation of sweeping legislation to clean up and protect the nation's water. 19. In Chico, California, it's a misdemeanor to trip a person, but the local law and a specific city ordinance also fine you for stumbling in a way that obstructs a public space. This gem of bureaucratic overreach wasn't designed to stop pranksters. It was born from the financial tragedy of lawsuits. After a few too many people slipped and sued the city for a fortune, the city council fought back not by fixing the sidewalks, but by essentially outlawing clumsiness. It's a brilliant, if slightly dystopian, solution. If gravity gets the best of you, that's a citation, my friend. 20. Those sell-by dates on your groceries aren't just suggestions from the manufacturer. They were a response to the silent, invisible tragedy of foodborne illness. Before standardized dating, consumers were essentially gambling every time they bought perishable goods. A series of deadly botulism outbreaks and widespread poisonings in the mid-20th century pushed regulators to demand clarity. These simple dates gave consumers power and made "I hope this doesn't kill me" a much less common dinner prayer. 21. Ever cursed at a child-proof cap on a medicine bottle? You can thank a common but serious household hazard. Before the 1970s, many essential medicines looked like candy, leading to a high number of accidental poisonings involving children. The Poison Prevention Packaging Act mandated those clever push-and-turn caps. So the next time you struggle with one, remember it's not there to inconvenience you. It's a small plastic guardian designed to keep a curious toddler safe from a serious accident. 22. Stepping into an elevator is an act of faith, but it used to be a risky proposition. In the 19th century, snapped cables were a recurring problem. The turning point came in 1854 when Elisha Otis staged a brilliant publicity stunt. He stood on an elevator platform, had the rope cut, and his safety brake engaged, stopping the fall. This wasn't just good marketing, it was the solution to a major public fear. Now, every elevator has this feature by law, making your daily ascent a routine event. 23. New Zealand once had a serious problem with exploding trousers. I am not making this up. In the 1930s, farmers were buying cheap work pants made with celluloid-based plastics. The tragedy struck when a farmer stood too close to a fire. His pants didn't just burn, they detonated. After several men experienced what can only be described as catastrophic wardrobe failure, the government passed the Inflammable Articles Act of 1933. This was a specific, targeted law to prevent the national crisis of pants unexpectedly bursting into flames. A true victory for leg safety everywhere. 24. The hard hat is a monument to the simple, brutal physics of construction. On early mega projects like the Hoover Dam, falling tools and materials were a constant and serious danger from above. The first hard hats were just leather caps hardened with tar. Eventually, the invention of modern head protection made it a mandatory life-saving law on every job site. It's a simple piece of plastic that stands between a worker and a serious, preventable injury. 25. Those little emergency lights that kick on during a power outage are the unsung heroes of building safety. They exist because in past emergencies, a sudden loss of power created total disorientation and chaos, hindering a safe evacuation. These simple, battery-powered lights are legally required to illuminate paths to the exits, providing a clear, calm guide in a worst-case scenario. They're a direct result of learning that darkness can turn a simple problem into a serious hazard. 26. Why are modern bridges so incredibly stable? You can thank the spectacular and almost comical failure of the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in 1940. Nicknamed Galloping Gertie, the brand-new suspension bridge had a tragic flaw. It was aerodynamically unstable. On a moderately windy day, it began to twist and ripple like a ribbon before dramatically tearing itself apart. The event was a massive engineering tragedy that taught a crucial lesson. In response, aerodynamic wind tunnel testing became a mandatory part of the design process for all major bridges, ensuring they could stand up to not just weight, but also the wind. 27. Why are there no spitting signs in old buildings and subway stations? It's not just about being gross. They're leftovers from the global panic during the 1918 influenza outbreak. Cities rushed to pass anti-spitting laws after hospitals overflowed, hoping the new rules would stop germs from spreading. The emergency faded, but the ordinances and the signs stayed. It's basically the longest-running no gross behavior campaign in history. 28. It seems counterintuitive, but the part of your car designed to completely disintegrate in a crash is what keeps you safe. For decades, the goal was to build rigid cars. The unfortunate result? In a collision, the car stopped, but the occupants kept moving. Engineers realized the car needed to absorb the impact. This led to crumple zones, areas legally mandated to collapse and extend the time of impact, drastically reducing the force on passengers. It's life-saving physics in action. 29. That little foil seal you break on a bottle of medicine exists because of a chilling crime that shocked the public. In the early 1980s, a series of high-profile product tampering incidents created a nationwide crisis of confidence in store-bought goods. In response, the FDA mandated tamper-evident packaging. That foil seal and plastic wrap are a layered defense system designed to show you, at a glance, if a product has been compromised. It's a permanent change in how we trust everything we buy. 30. When you check into a hotel, you'll often see a fire escape map on the back of the door. This is a direct legacy of major hotel fires where investigations revealed a common critical problem. In a smoke-filled, unfamiliar building, guests often became disoriented and couldn't find the exits. The incidents exposed a serious flaw in guest awareness. Now, those simple maps are a required feature, a small, crucial guide for when every second counts. 31. That little FDIC sticker at your bank is a direct response to a national economic tragedy. During the Great Depression, a wave of bank failures wiped out the life savings of millions of Americans overnight. There was no safety net. The resulting panic and hardship led to the creation of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. This simple government guarantee ensures that even if a bank collapses, your deposits are protected. It's a law that turned the panic of a bank run into a thing of the past. 32. Seatbelt laws exist because for decades, the automobile industry was tragically slow to embrace safety. Early cars were built for style and power, but the occupants were an afterthought. Seatbelts were often an optional extra, like a fancy radio. After years of preventable injuries from minor accidents, a massive public safety campaign and the work of consumer advocates finally forced the government's hand. Mandating seatbelts was a revolutionary step that redefined the car from a beautiful machine into a protective capsule. 33. Modern food allergen labeling laws are a direct result of the quiet, invisible danger of hidden ingredients. For people with severe allergies, eating out or buying packaged food was a dangerous gamble. A series of unfortunate and preventable incidents highlighted the urgent need for clarity. This led to laws requiring clear labeling of major allergens like peanuts, soy, and dairy. That simple, "contains nuts" warning is a powerful legal shield born from the need to make food safe for everyone. 34. Before the invention of the air brake, stopping a train was a terrifyingly inefficient and hazardous process. A team of brakemen had to manually turn wheels on each car, a slow process that often failed. This led to numerous runaway train incidents and collisions. The Westinghouse air brake, which allowed the engineer to stop the entire train simultaneously, was such a monumental leap in safety that its adoption was eventually mandated by law, taming the immense power of the railroad. 35. The Amber Alert system is a powerful tool forged from a heartbreaking tragedy. The case of a missing child in the 1990s sparked a revolutionary idea among the community and broadcasters. What if we could use the public airwaves to instantly create a nationwide search party? The concept was so effective that it was adopted as a formal system. This law turned a moment of profound loss into a legacy of hope, creating a network that has since helped safely recover countless children. 36. You may have noticed that modern swimming pool drains have a special domed cover. This specific design is a federally mandated law. It was created to prevent a rare but serious danger where the powerful suction from a flat drain could create an inescapable vortex. After a high-profile incident brought this hidden hazard to national attention, the Virginia Graham-Baker Act was passed, requiring safer drain designs in all public pools, engineering a simple solution to a frightening problem. 37. The incredibly strict building codes in places like California are written in the memory of seismic events. After historic earthquakes demonstrated that entire cities could be leveled in minutes, engineers and lawmakers realized they weren't just building structures. They were battling geology. This led to revolutionary codes requiring buildings to be flexible and reinforced to sway with an earthquake, not fight it. These laws are a testament to learning from disaster and building a more resilient future. 38. Good Samaritan laws exist to solve a tragic paradox. People were sometimes afraid to help others in an emergency for fear of being sued if they made a mistake. These laws provide legal protection to bystanders who offer reasonable assistance to those in peril. They were enacted to combat the bystander effect and encourage our better nature, ensuring that the fear of a lawsuit wouldn't be the reason a person in need doesn't receive help. 39. The rigorous safety standards for modern parachutes were born from the trial-and-error tragedies of early aviation. In the pioneering days, parachute designs were wildly inconsistent, and packing them was more of an art than a science. After numerous failures during military and exhibition jumps, the process was completely standardized. Laws now mandate specific materials, folding techniques, and regular inspections, turning a daredevil's gamble into one of the most reliable safety devices in the world. 40. Every commercial airplane is legally required to be able to be fully evacuated in 90 seconds or less, using only half of its available exits. This 90-second rule wasn't an arbitrary number. It was established after aviation safety experts studied incidents where post-crash survival was determined not by the impact, but by how quickly passengers could get out. This strict, performance-based law has driven airplane design for decades, ensuring that your best chance of survival is a quick and orderly exit. 41. The strict laws requiring safety harnesses and guardrails for anyone working at heights are a direct response to one of the oldest and most preventable workplace tragedies: falling. For centuries, construction was one of the most dangerous professions. The creation of agencies like OSHA in the United States finally mandated these simple but effective pieces of equipment. That harness isn't just a strap. It's a legal shield against gravity, born from an effort to make sure every worker goes home safe. 42. The Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906 exists because a single book revealed a stomach-churning national secret. Upton Sinclair's novel, The Jungle, exposed the deeply unsanitary and deceptive practices within the meatpacking industry at the time. The American public was so horrified by the revelations of what could be in their food that it created an unstoppable demand for federal oversight. This led directly to the creation of the FDA, an agency founded on the simple but powerful idea that your dinner shouldn't be a dangerous mystery. 43. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, big American cities like Chicago and Omaha enforced what were called ugly laws. These ordinances targeted people whose appearance didn't fit the era's rigid ideas of public decorum. The supposed tragedy? That the sight of real human hardship made some citizens uncomfortable. Instead of helping anyone, officials decided the best solution was to fine people for simply existing in public. It's one of the coldest examples of lawmakers mistaking cruelty for cleanliness. 44. That simple painted circle with a line through it on the side of a cargo ship is called a plimsoll line, and it stopped a widespread and tragic scam. In the 19th century, greedy ship owners would dangerously overload their vessels to maximize profit, knowing they were likely to sink. These coffin ships were often heavily insured. After a lawmaker named Samuel Plimsoll campaigned tirelessly against this practice, a mandatory line was added, making it illegal for a ship to be loaded so heavily that the line disappears underwater. A simple mark that saved thousands of lives. 45. The right of an employee to sue their employer for unsafe working conditions was a right forged in tragedy by the Radium Girls. In the 1920s, young women painted watch dials with glow-in-the-dark radium paint, a substance they were told was harmless. When they suffered severe health consequences, their company denied all responsibility. Their courageous and high-profile lawsuit became a national scandal, establishing legal precedents that made companies directly responsible for the health and safety of their workers, a cornerstone of modern labor law. 46. The process of pasteurization, which makes milk and other foods safe to consume, became law because of the invisible tragedy of bacteria. Before Louis Pasteur's discoveries, raw milk was a common carrier for dangerous microbes that caused widespread illness, especially among children. The simple process of heating the milk to a specific temperature to eliminate these threats was a public health revolution. Mandating it turned a common, everyday product from a potential hazard into a safe source of nutrition. 47. Ever seen a sign in a bar or theater that says, "Maximum occupancy 250"? That number isn't a suggestion, it's a fire code law written from the lessons of past emergencies. In several historical incidents, fires in overcrowded venues turned into major disasters not just because of the fire itself, but because too many people in a small space created a panicked, immovable crowd that blocked the exits. These occupancy limits ensure there's always a clear path to safety. 48. The government got serious about how your burger is cooked for one reason: the 1993 Jack in the Box E. coli tragedy. The massive outbreak revealed a terrifying gap in food safety, showing that cooked wasn't always safe. In response, the USDA mandated strict new rules based on internal temperature, not just cooking time. This single, high-profile event forever changed the rules for every fast food kitchen in America. 49. The Industrial Revolution ran on steam, but it was a ticking time bomb. Boiler explosions were a common and devastating tragedy, leveling factories and sinking ships without warning. After a series of catastrophic failures, governments were forced to act. This led to the creation of strict engineering codes and mandatory safety inspections, a legal framework designed to tame the explosive power of steam and keep the pressure from literally blowing the roof off. Okay, we've covered 49 points, and only one remains. But before we get to our final number, it's time for the final verdict. In our opinion, the award for the most brilliantly simple law from today's list goes to the round manhole cover. Simply because it solves a potentially serious problem with a solution so elegant and perfect in its geometry, it's almost beautiful. Do you agree with our verdict? Or did another point deserve this questionable honor? Let us know in the comments what you think. And now, our final number. 50. Modern child labor laws exist because society underwent a fundamental shift in consciousness. For generations, it was common for children to work long hours in hazardous industrial environments, depriving them of an education and a safe upbringing. A wave of social reform and powerful photojournalism brought this widespread exploitation to light. This public awakening led to the Fair Labor Standards Act, which established a minimum working age and set strict limits on working hours for minors, forever changing the definition of childhood. So there you have it. Every law on this list is a scar left by a forgotten tragedy, a story written in the ink of hindsight. But looking back at all 50, which law do you think was a completely exaggerated reaction and should not exist? Let us know your verdict in the comments below. And if you enjoy uncovering the stories hidden behind the rules we live by, subscribe and hit the notification bell for our next investigation.